am New York, young man. I got the meanest streets, the hardest concrete, right here in my heart. You and destiny are gonna meet. How can you rise up where others have fallen?
Oh, send it in, big fella.
Here's the key.
I can't get over this.
Don't fear me, feel me.
Big time delivery.
Let me inside, fill your soul with the will to survive. This week, on this court, the stakes like my skyscrapers are higher. The glare like my life brighter. The road like my rat race is rougher. Oh. If you're afraid, you'll fail. But stand tall like me and you will prevail. Here in the Big East Championship.
High noon in New York City, where lunchtime varies from the casual sit-down to a quick bite on the go. But for the ultimate power lunch, it's hard to top today's menu at Madison Square Garden. Day 2 of the Big East tournament begins with 2 of the league's legendary programs. Connecticut and Jim Calhoun coming off a win against DePaul. Meet Georgetown. The Hoyas limping in the New York City, both literally and figuratively. They look to get back on track today on Broadway. Championship Week is presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. As we welcome you to the Big East Championship presented by American Eagle Outfitters. Connecticut has won 6 Big East championships, the last coming in 2004. Georgetown won its 7th crown in 2007 and has made it to the finals 3 of the last 4 years. 4 teams sent home already, and the field will be cut in half after today's action. The winner of our first game will get the top seed Pitt tomorrow at noon. Syracuse awaits the winner of game 2 today, St. John's and Rutgers. The upset yesterday, South Florida knocking off Villanova. The Bulls get Cincinnati tonight. Hi, everybody, with Fran Fraschilla and Doris Burke. I'm Dave Pasch, and today marks the 15-year anniversary of one of the great games ever in the Big East Championship, Georgetown-Villanova. Ray Allen beats Allen Iverson. As far as today's matchup goes, Chris Wright out again for Georgetown. And Doris, they're really struggling. Just 48 points per game offensively in his absence.
The quality of the shots they're getting has really suffered in his absence. But you understand this, regardless of who's available for John Thompson, there are certain actions you've got to be prepared to guard. And one thing you've got to be mindful of, if you're one pass away as a defender, you've got to be mindful of that back cut. You do not want to be so close, because when this is the trigger, if there's a dribble at you and you're one pass away, they are going back door regardless of the kind of spacing. The other major thing you've got to look for is this, the dribble handoff. You elect to go down on the screen, you're trying to prevent a little dribble drive, and they're going to quickly step behind that guy and make a very quick and quality look from 3.
Doris, Georgetown has its hands full on defense as well. Kemba Walker, Fran, almost had a triple-double in the first meeting, and Walker was great yesterday in game 1.
Well, and he should be well rested because he only played 36 minutes yesterday. But Kemba Walker, there's only one player in the country that scores more baskets in transition, and that's some guy named Jimmer out west. Kemba Walker is a transition guy. Creates for himself, willing passer for his teammates. He's made those freshmen look awfully good this year. You got to be able to contain him in the half court and the full court, Doris.
The other side of that star watch, Austin Freeman, first team Big East performer. Because they're bigger, he's getting some mismatches at that 2 position. Should be interesting to watch with Connecticut.
Let's take a look at the rest of our starters for game 1 on day 2 of the 2011 Big East Championship. Alex Oriaki did not start yesterday. He responded with 19 rebounds, so he'll get the start along with Aquandu Smith, Walker, and Jeremy Lamb. And for the Hoyas, the same 5 they've been using the last couple of games without Chris Wright. Freeman and Clark in the backcourt, Thompson, Vaughn, and Lubick up front. Vaughn has yet to make a shot from the field since Chris Wright's injury. They need all the offense they can get today against Walker and Connecticut. Both these teams ranked yet in the Big East. They're in the middle of the pack. Connecticut is the 9 seed, Georgetown the 8th seed. UConn at 22-9, Georgetown 21-9. Oriaki misses the game's first shot, and a rebound by Jason Clark. Here's Thompson, the quick fire, and Thompson hits a long 2.
Now you understand this, even without Chris Wright, this is a controlled offense, so they're going to take some time, and they're an excellent defensive team, Fran.
Well, they screen terrifically in that offense, and they free those shooters.
Jeremy Lamb, 17 first half points yesterday, but misses his first shot today, and Oriaki fouled by Lubick inside. First foul on Georgetown. Jim Calhoun today with a win would get his 300th Big East regular season and tournament. Jim Boeheim's the only coach in the Big East with 300. Remember, this is a team that got off to a great start at 10-0 with 17-2, then lost 4 of their last 5. Heading into the Big East tournament before routing DePaul yesterday.
It's going to be interesting to see how Georgetown gangs up on Kemba Walker. You see a lot of bodies there.
And here's Freeman, the preseason player of the year in the Big East. He did not win that award postseason. Ben Hansbrough did, but still named first team All Big East.
Well, remember this, guys. I think they're better in the half court when Kemba plays off the ball, but he can do that. That puts some pressure on you.
His mid-range game is so good, and what he does so well is pull up on a dime. They try to trap this. Lubick with the hard hedge, he goes right between. If you're not connected on that trap, foot to foot, Kemba's going to find daylight.
He was holding his left elbow as he hit the deck hard, but he'll shake it off. And look at what he's done this year with those 21 games at 20 or more points. He also has 8 30-point games. The school record is 9. And really had his first good game at Madison Square Garden yesterday. He was 0-2 in the Big East tournament prior to yesterday. He's from New York, so you know he wanted to play well on the big stage.
He put 31 and 10 on Georgetown with Chris Wright, so he might get number 9.
Here's Vaughn in the lane, and he's 0 for 11 now in his last 3 games. It'll be UConn ball. Boy, what a job John Thompson III has done this year. They got off to a miserable start in the Big East at 1-4. They won 8 in a row. Yes, they struggled down the stretch, but he didn't have a lot of bodies, and Chris Wright is so valuable to that team. He's been hurt the last 2.5 games. Akwandu misses the long J, and it's corralled by Clark.
Well, they should be well rested, Georgetown. This is only the 2nd game in the last 11 days. They had a week off at the end of the regular season.
Clark hits a 2, so 2 long 2s by Georgetown, 1 by Thompson. Now the basket by Clark. Walker trying to split the double team, lost it, and it's Georgetown ball. Here's Austin Freeman leaving it for Clark. Freeman 3 not there. Georgetown was just 11th in conference games in 3-point shooting. They were 3rd in all games in that category, so they really struggled once they got into league action shooting the ball. Thompson finds Vaughn, and maybe losing confidence. Instead of taking the shot, he gave it up and turned it over. Walker trying to draw the foul, almost turned it over himself. And there's Vaughn pushing Lamb, so 3 fouls on Georgetown already. First on Vaughn.
Players fouls on Julian Vaughn. His first, team's 3rd. Number 5, Markel Starks is in.
You know, in that first meeting that Connecticut won and Kemba had the 31 points, he really shredded Georgetown's pick and roll defense. And you can see early on there's going to be a concerted effort to make sure they corral him in the screen and roll. That means the bigs have got to be active with their feet.
Here's Lamb for 3, and this guy has a bright future in basketball. 6'5" freshman, very long. He can shoot it. Was 7 of 11 yesterday against DePaul from the field. Markel Starks on the floor, essentially the backup point guard, but hasn't been getting a lot of minutes, even with Chris Wright not in the lineup. Here's Lubick, brings some energy and fire to this Georgetown team, and he's working hard on the glass, but lost the ball to Lamb.
Great job by Austin Freeman to slow that down.
Walker fouled on the way to the goal. That's 4 fouls in 4 minutes on Georgetown, and the first on Markel Starks.
You know, Markel Starks only plays about 10 minutes a game. On that last offensive possession, Austin Freeman was actually directing him where to go in the offense, and it tells you what they miss about Chris Wright. Not just the talent, but the fact that he ran the offense for 4 years, even though everybody touches the ball in this offense.
Oriaki fouled, the 5th team foul on Georgetown. The other thing about Chris Wright, in the Big East tournament last year, he averaged 19 points per game and got Georgetown to the title game.
Well, and then if you're Georgetown, Dave, you really got to gang up on Kemba Walker. You got to have a lot of great jerseys in traffic. And if you make some jump shots, boy, Chris Wright's missed, but not if Jason Clark's feeling it. Welcome to New York City, Big East basketball.
Championship is presented by American Eagle Outfitters. Live your life in AE jeans. And in part by Dick's Sporting Goods. Every season starts at Dick's. And Enterprise Rent-A-Car. We'll pick you up.
Back at Madison Square Garden, game 1 on day 2. Connecticut, Georgetown in the 8-9 matchup, and we are tied early. Georgetown shooting 50% to start the game.
Well, in their last 3 games, they went 25, 36, and 32%. Without Chris Wright, last 2 games, you can see what they've averaged, just 49 points. Field goal percentage is reflective of the quality of shots you get. And look at the assist numbers way down. And Markel Starks is going to be a quality player. There's Chris Wright. Markel is going to be a terrific player for Georgetown. I watched them practice a couple times early this season. The problem is, this is an offense, Fran, that takes a little bit of time to get accustomed to. You need to go at it with game speed to help you understand it and see it.
It's how you see the game, Doris, and when you put a guy in with this lack of experience, he's not going to see the game the way Chris Wright did, because this is not a set offense. There's a lot of reading and cutting that you do based on where the defense is.
Free throws good by Oriaki. John Thompson III says that the target date for Chris Wright's return is the NCAA tournament. It's a non-shooting hand injury. Probably could push it and try to go here in New York, but they want to make sure he's 100%, and they're hoping to have him back for the NCAA.
Well, I talked to John Thompson, and he said, listen, it's highly doubtful. He said, the reality is, I'm thinking next week, and he will be back. He practiced for the last 2 days. That's a huge sign. Non-contact, but he did go.
There was contact there, but no foul called. Lamb gets it back. Here's Coombs McDaniel on the drive. He had a big game against Georgetown in their meeting during the regular season. UConn won. He'll be Georgetown ball.
Watch John Thompson. Now, you can't lose Julian Vaughn. He is probably more effective than any other player on that bench without Chris Wright. So a little pat on his head, Fran. You probably had to do that a time or two.
Well, what it does is now it takes 2 experienced players out of not only your offense, but what he does in protecting the rim.
Lubick on the bench as well with 2 fouls for Georgetown. As Sims threw it away. Benjamin couldn't save it.
Wow, Fran. I mean, how much does that tell you about Georgetown's offense? You get a pass at the rim and not even a look at it. I mean, he's going to kick that out. How perimeter oriented are you?
Yeah, absolutely. You got to take that ball with authority.
That's twice now, because Vaughn had a 4-footer that he passed up as well, as Oriaki misses inside. Sims with the defense and the board. Starks calling for it. And here's Freeman. Austin Freeman really tried to push it against Cincinnati the other day and was 7 of 23 from the field. He attacks here and gets the bucket to tie it at 8.
That's a big time move, fellas. How about that through traffic?
He's got 4 points. Here's Lamb, and another reason why Jeremy Lamb is a guy to watch in years to come.
Come on, we got Georgetown, UConn on day 2 of the Big East tournament. These are Titans, and maybe nothing gives more evidence to the kind of year it's been in the Big East that we're looking at the 2 jerseys we're looking at right now.
Again, both teams ranked, yet in the 8-9 matchup on Wednesday. Starks for 3. That's a great sign. He hit just 7 in 29 tries during the regular season.
You know what's really big about that, guys? Austin Freeman is starting to recognize that nobody really wanted to take shots, and Starks showing you some aggressiveness.
The follow after Walker's miss, and UConn back up 1.
Welcome back, Mr. Oriaki. You've been missing in action. In the Big East tournament, you've been the guy we expected to see.
Turnover by Georgetown. Oriaki's got 4 points, 1 rebound. Here's Kemba Walker, who's brilliant in transition. Finds Lamb, who's fouled. That's the 16th foul. Georgetown, 0 by UConn.
Well, when Kemba Walker plays in the half court, he's pretty good now. But in transition, it's like taking a wide receiver out of a running game in football and running a spread offense, because this is what he does best. Watch him survey the court, figure out where the defense is, count the numbers of defenders back, and then make the right play.
Well, we're giving you a point guard bird's eye view with that angle. That's nice.
Vaughn back on the floor. Starks just picked up his 2nd foul for Georgetown. And 1 more free throw coming for Lamb. You see his numbers from the 1st round against DePaul. He was named to the All-Big East rookie team along with teammate Shabazz Napier.
Now, if you're Georgetown, you've got to find someone else willing to take shots besides Austin Freeman. They've passed off 3 or 4 good opportunities.
Here's Clark, and Clark short with a 3 shot, just 30% in Big East games from behind the arc. Smith from the corner, can't get it to go. Clark with it for Georgetown. Winner will play Pittsburgh tomorrow. Pitt, by the way, is 0-2 when getting the double bye and playing on Thursday. It's the 3rd year we've had all 16 teams in the Big East tournament. Here's Freeman leaning in, and a foul on Roscoe Smith, the 1st on UConn.
This is something that they want to exploit, and obviously, Fran, something they should exploit. Freeman's frame, because they're playing him at different positions, he's getting post-ups against guys that they like the matchup with. So Roscoe Smith, good luck, brother, because you got a physical, tall, skilled guy with his back to the basket.
Austin Freeman coming into today needed 5 points to pass Kevin Braswell for 8th all-time at Georgetown as Napier makes his debut today, replacing Kemba Walker. Well, you talked to Fran at the outset about Walker playing 36 minutes, which is unusual given the fact that he played 39 per game in conference action. See how long he's on the bench. Freeman got the 2nd one. We're even at 12. He'll kick it out, and the 3 is good by Coombs McDaniel.
And a little 3 goggles again, Doris. You notice that?
Yes, I'm glad you explained what that was.
That's a Portland Trailblazer specialty. Everybody's picking up on it.
Speaking of the Blazers, they handed the Heat their 5th straight loss last night.
Panic meter at double digits, I think.
All that means is how important chemistry is to the game of basketball. And right now, the Heat do not have that.
A lot of people saying they won't be judged until the postseason. They're getting judged every day. Starks had that 3-point attempt blocked. Connecticut ball with a 3-point lead. And Coombs McDaniel on the drive, gave up the 3-point try, got inside, and Freeman tracks down the loose ball. Georgetown hitting just 3 of its last 9 from the field. Team that's 8th in the country entering this week in field goal percentage. Thompson hits a 3. 2nd triple for the Hoyas.
You know you've got to guard him. This guy is a flat-out shooter of the basketball. And again, a situation, friend, where a little handoff creates separation to an easy shot.
Well, they can't grow as a team without other people stepping up.
Roscoe Smith with the answer on the other end. In league games, he shot 16% from behind the arc. That'll help his confidence, knocking down that one.
Watch Sanford right now and Starks. They're not as fluid as some of the veteran players, but this will help Georgetown. The experience these guys are getting when and if Chris Wright comes back healthy in the tournament.
Connecticut foul just at second. 6 called against Georgetown. First on Coombs McDaniel.
Well, we've got 3 goggles you got to watch. There's 3D in the house in case you're interested on ESPN. We'll take 2D, but 3 balls as you get a couple of guys who can flat out shoot it. Georgetown, Hollis Thompson. Little pass from Julian Vaughn, screen, deep 3, and he makes it look easy. The answer, young Mr. Roscoe Smith. He's good. Turns around, put the 3 goggles up. Oh, yeah.
Allen with Iverson on him, throws one up. Georgetown can win if they score. Iverson with 7, with 6, Spades missed it. Williams, rebound. He missed it as well. UConn survived. Look at the celebration. What a terrific finish that was as we welcome you back to Madison Square Garden. The 2 schools with the most Big East championships. Georgetown 7 and Connecticut 6, including that one you saw 15 years ago today.
If you're a basketball fan and you follow the Big East, you kind of know where you were when you were watching that game. I was home in my house in White Plains, New York, and what a thrilling atmosphere. Of course, the large father is here. John Thompson,
Jr. Yeah, he coached obviously then for Georgetown.
Well, his son told us that he doesn't get on small planes anymore, so we didn't see him on some of those Big East trips, but it's an easy trip up from D.C.
Vaughn got it stripped, and Connecticut ball. 3-point lead for the Huskies midway through the first half. Well, before yesterday's win for UConn, the last time the Huskies had won a Big East tournament game was against Georgetown. That was in 05, as now UConn is up 5 because of a Kwandu's bucket.
Wow, that's a confident-looking post move. A little jump hook, turning over that left shoulder, friend. That's something that guy did not have when he showed up in Stores.
No, but he's using both shoulders, Doris. He hit some hooks on Saturday against Notre Dame with the left hand.
No stay Georgetown ball. Clark back in for the Hoyas.
Watch the patience of Kwandu. He'll catch it. He'll survey middle. See if the double is coming. Wait. Vaughn takes away the middle, and he comes back over that left shoulder to the baseline. Well done.
Well, he tried to hit V. Sanford back door and turned it over. 6 turnovers now by Georgetown. 6 field goals for the Hoyas.
David, I really believe this is a silver lining for Georgetown, getting all these young players this experience in the Big East tournament if Chris Wright comes back next week.
Here's Coombs McDaniel, knocks down another one. He had 23 against Georgetown. Scott, it averages only 6 points per game, and it's an 8-0 run.
Shabazz Napier came up the floor screaming at McDaniel, I told you. I wonder what he told him. He's made a couple shots.
You know, some guys are energy suckers. Shabazz is an energy giver.
Yes.
You know, he's got that leadership ability. Wait till Kemba Walker leaves. This guy's going to be a star.
Here's Sanford off the dribble. Spins out, and nobody under the basket with a gray jersey. But a good play by Lubick to poke it free. And now a transition opportunity as Sanford misses, but Lubick there with the tip.
And Lubick plays so hard. I mean, I enjoy watching that young guy play. Just a freshman, a coach's son. He's not going to stop competing.
Coombs McDaniel tried it again, this time missed. The Kwandu on the floor to save it, though. Walker in the lane.
Yeah, rebound.
And a foul underneath on Georgetown. That's the 17th foul against the Hoyas.
Watch Kemba Walker and all of the gray jerseys that follow him wherever he goes. Kemba, you will not be lonely today, fella, because the Georgetown Hoyas are going to pay you plenty of attention. And because multiple defenders go at him, Fran, thank you for the assistance. He pitches it, and it's plenty of time for Coombs McDaniel to get this shot. I mean, that's just smart basketball.
Well, and you know what? This is the maturity of Kemba Walker. A year ago, he would have tried to challenge at every opportunity at the rim, and he's now picking his spots. Yesterday we said he's driving in city traffic, and he's not crashing the car.
I see the numbers against Georgetown. What a game he had, and that was when Chris Wright was in the lineup. Rare missed free throw, but another rebound. Oriaki had 6 offensive rebounds yesterday and 19 for the game, which tied a school record at the Big East tournament. Walker fouled again. He'll go back to the line for another 1-and-1. That's the 8th team foul.
A little frustration. I mean, you see the frustration by the Georgetown Hoyas. And they're trying to string out that screen and roll, Franny, with very little success.
Right. What you got to do, Doris, you got to stay attached to the man setting the screen. When Benjamin shows too early, it gives you a crack. And it's even at the point that when you show, you have to show with your inside hand down so that a small guard can't cross over. That's the old Tim Hardaway defense versus the pick and roll. Stick your hand down so that Kemba can't cross over into the lane.
And you know where he's going.
Absolutely.
Every screen and roll that UConn has run, he has split the trap.
Because the help is too early.
Foul was on Benjamin. Now Vaughn, Lubick, and Starks all have 2 fouls. And again, Chris Wright is in street clothes, so not a deep bench for John Thompson III, and right now they trail by 8. Freeman draws the foul on Smith. It's a second personal, 3rd team foul. UConn on top of Georgetown, 25-17 here in New York City. Today's telecast available in 3D on ESPN 3D, brought to you by Sony. All the games of the Big East Championship in 3D. UConn on top of Georgetown by 8. Andrea Walker, Kemba's mom, enjoying watching her son's performance right now.
And if you're Kemba Walker, Dave, you got to be really mindful of the fact that you're going to get a lot of attention from Georgetown today. So you got to be strong with the ball when you're moving without it. Now, you'll see Freeman score at the other end. Now, when you have the ball in your hands and you're in pick and roll offense, you've got to be mindful of how the big man is going to show. And you got to make sure you have space to cross over to get into the lane. Here, the big man shows you got to attack his body, keep your dribble, absorb all the attention, and then find the open man. And that's what he's done pretty solidly today, Doris, early in this game.
He's got a couple of assists. That mishandle wasn't really great defense from Georgetown. He just lost the handle of the basketball, and his mindset is on those hard hedges. He's just going right through the defense.
Walker named 1st team All Big East the other day. In fact, the entire All Big East 1st team was guards. 6 players. Ben Hansbrough named Player of the Year yesterday. You guys agree with that?
Well, I think obviously the one guy in the post that had an argument was the Defensive Player of the Year, Rick Jackson. I mean, his numbers were solid enough. I guess it goes to which guy would you take off, and I'd have a hard time taking any of the first 6 off.
But I do think you got to have somebody that plays, reward a guy for working hard in the paint.
Walker, his first 3-point try, another offensive rebound, and there goes Kemba Walker.
That's how you average 5 rebounds a game. Very opportunistic. Knew where the miss was coming from.
3 boards already to go along with 7 points. Freeman may have to be a one-man show for Georgetown to have a chance. He misses there. UConn in transition. Coombs McDaniel, great catch and finish.
How about that? Aquandu at his size, sprinting the floor, not only able to make the catch, but the vision and feel to understand his teammates coming. I mean, that's outstanding play. Aquandu's been good the last couple days.
Timeout. Georgetown is the lead for Connecticut as a game-high 10. A 14-4 Husky run. They pass Doris Burke, Fran Fraschilla back at the Garden, where Connecticut leads Georgetown by 10, just under 7 to play in the opening half.
Well, keep your eye on Kemba Walker now. Watch when he grabs this rebound, this outlet. Watch his head now. It's up the floor right away. He's figuring out where the defense is in relation to his big man running. And then, as you mentioned, a great dish by Aquendo.
It's interesting, Kemba Walker may get All-American 1st team, yet not be the Player of the Year in his own conference. As Freeman hits a 3, he's got 10 of the 22 for Georgetown.
It's got to be obviously a huge day from him, and I think they need at least 20 from Clark if they're going to win this basketball game.
Clark has just 2 right now. Here's Lamb for a triple. Another rebound, this one by Beverly. 7 offensive rebounds for Connecticut. And more free throws coming. Sims picked up the foul, his first.
Well, you only usually see Georgetown go 2-3 zone on inbounds under. They don't like to play a lot of zone, but you can see right now JT3 looking for some defensive answers.
Donnell Beverly, a senior from Los Angeles, 71% free throw shooter. And Connecticut has had some huge wins this year. Tennessee beat Georgetown, beat Villanova. Win doesn't look as great now the way the Wildcats are playing. Also win at Texas. Speaking of Villanova, losing last night, any chance that they're on the bubble, or you still think they're in?
I think they're in. I think the quality of the body of their work. I think now you're looking, though, if Franny is it a 10 seed?
Yeah. Well, you know what? This is why I think the committee needs to take into account the last 12 games of the season. Not because Villanova doesn't deserve to get in. They certainly do. But I think their seeding is going to be affected subconsciously by the fact that they've struggled down the stretch.
Sure. Preparedness.
Yeah.
And how you're playing down the stretch tells you how prepared you are to be successful in the tournament.
Thompson misses a 3. Joe Lenardi has him as an 11 right now. If the bubble were any better, they might be out, but the bubble isn't very good right now. And again, Villanova's got some huge wins this year. A steal by Lamb. He'll take it himself.
Kid's going to be a player. He's going to be a flat player. He's got tremendous length, athleticism, good anticipation, Fran, and sprints the floor. The body will fill out. You better look out, folks, in 2 years from now. You got a couple of players in this team in that first freshman class.
Wearing a wrap on his right knee, makes a good defensive play. Hurt at knee in the final regular season game against Notre Dame. Showed no ill effects yesterday nor today. And here he is for 3. And another rebound for Kemba Walker. And finally cleared by Sims.
Well, they've got, you mentioned it, now it's 8 offensive rebounds. They're just not turning those into baskets, so this margin could be a lot bigger.
Freeman, trouble with the handle. Here's Clark for 3. Another miss. As Clark is 1 for 3, 0 for 2 from behind the arc.
The last 3 possessions for UConn on defense, Jeremy Lamb has disrupted everything Georgetown's trying to do.
Aquandu with a 3-point opportunity. Walker with the entry pass.
I'll tell you this. You look back over the history of Jim Calhoun's Hall of Fame career in Connecticut, and you're going to see players get better. And Aquandu, coming down the stretch of his career, is playing his best basketball. How about this? First of all, when you allow penetration that deep, Fran, you're going to get good shot opportunities. All the gray jerseys step up. Soft little bounce. Soft bounce. Make it easy on your big man.
Well, when you step up to help, you expose the baseline, and that's exactly what Henry Sims just did. There's a reason why Henry Sims is now sitting next to the assistant coaches. There's a correlation there.
Wallace Thompson picked up the foul, and now a Connecticut foul on Beverly, his first. 14 foul at UConn. Championship week continues on ESPN2 tonight. Robert Morris and Long Island in the Northeast Championship. Then it's the Big Sky final, Montana and Northern Colorado.
And the Grizzlies trying to go back-to-back. Wayne Tinkle's club. That's just an area of the country I like. I may get a free condo out of it this time.
Maybe Musburger will let you stay at his house. Thompson's 3, and might have been basket interference. Looked like it was still on the rim. No call. Here comes UConn. Napier got the defender in the air. Beverly with the extra pass. Lamb got the rebound, sticks it back in. The lead is 15.
They're just quicker to the basketball. They're pursuing every loose 50-50 basketball has gone UConn's way. It's reflected in the score.
Well, and it's reflected in maybe having a bye not always being a good thing as well.
Turnover, Georgetown. Connecticut on an 8-0 run. This game was tied at 15. Huskies have scored 22 in the last 29, including that stuff by Jeremy Lamb. As to you, Mike, you can't stay away from the Big East tournament. Good to hear.
Unbelievable. Did nobody tell him his Orange aren't playing until tonight? He's working already?
Connecticut by 15, looking to advance and play Pittsburgh. Syracuse will play either St. John's or Rutgers. What an atmosphere that would be if it's St. John's, Syracuse. There might actually be more Syracuse fans here for that game.
I'd be curious to know what Jay Williams and Doug Gottlieb think about whether you want to have the bye or not, or the double bye as a player, because you look at Connecticut playing yesterday, even though they blew out DePaul, able to get their feet under him in this game. Georgetown coming in with a lot of rest, albeit no Chris Wright, and they do not look organized.
Well, think about this. Big East coaches actually voted, as did the athletics directors, to play the first day of the Big East tournament against the 4 worst teams, get a day off, and then play again. You'd still have to play 4 days to win the Big East championship, but there would be a day of rest. It was the college presidents who said no to that. Now, whether that was based on class time being missed, I'm not sure the rationale. But interesting,
Doris.
the coaches, Nate, what?
Class time, come on. Bowl games and postseason basketball tournaments, come on.
You're going to have another issue in 2 years when TCU.
So why? Tell me why the presidents voted down when clearly their coaching staffs and athletic directors are voting for it.
Because how many college presidents have ever coached or played? Thank you.
Foul inside on Oriaki, so 2 quick fouls on UConn. But what do you do with TCU? You have a 17th team. Do you go back to only having 12 teams make it to the Big East tournament, or do you keep letting everybody play?
Well, I think TCU should just come to New York at the end of the year and play in a tournament. If they win it, they go to the NCAA. But it's going to be a complicated issue for the league to figure out.
I'll tell you where I wouldn't mind being, Ponte Vedra, in those meetings.
Just because it's in Ponte Vedra?
Well, both probably. I've been to Ponte Vedra.
So
Clark gets a second free throw.
She's not going to the Big East meetings when they move them to Syracuse.
What are you saying, Fran?
I don't know.
Walker inside. Kemba Walker now with 9 points, and Connecticut back up 15.
He can get you tough twos, boy. He's had to make an awful lot of tough twos this year.
And you notice he didn't take it all the way to the body of the defense. He pulled up, and that's where I think the biggest sense of maturity has come.
Freeman to the basket, so Austin Freeman really trying to take over for Georgetown, almost half of their points. And we're under 2 to go in the first. Walker tried to get the ball down to Oriaki and succeeded. Oriaki will go to the line as Vaughn just picked up his 3rd foul. Oriaki at the line, but what a year it's been for Kemba Walker. 729 points this season, closing in on Richard Hamilton for the 4th most in a single year. Would have to have quite a run to catch Daniel Marshall.
Well, you know what this tells you? That list right there, did you see those names? Now you know why they had senior day for him on Saturday.
Yeah.
Which we're told had nothing to do with basketball. Mark Dempsey is going to graduate, but I hear what you're saying.
He's got to go.
I think his stock is as high as it'll be even next year. And this is a young team coming back. They certainly could use him. I think that he probably would think about it, but based on what he's done, Dave, from start to finish, I think that he's proven himself to be a guy that has done a lot of what we wanted to accomplish in college.
It's not a great draft, and obviously because his stock has been so high, let's be honest, the expectations were not high for this Connecticut team until Kemba put him on his back in Maui, and was sensational. That gave him great confidence and quality wins.
A lot of people say not a pure point guard, but then you watch him in transition with the ball in his hands, and that's where he's at his best.
And you guys see enough NBA games that you know it's a long game, and even that backup point guard, that change of pace guy, that punt returner in the 2nd quarter is very valuable, and that's where I see him early in his career.
He would remind me of Ty Lawson before the trade, where he becomes a starter, where he comes in and your transition game goes faster than it did with the first unit.
Napier with the lob. Oriaki couldn't catch. Georgetown going to try to get it down to single figures before the break. Right now trailing by 14. Freeman off the Lubick screen. Hits the pull-up. It's a 2. Freeman's got 14.
Yeah, see, this guy understands the only way we're going to stay attached and give ourselves any opportunity is if I have a huge, huge afternoon.
He's got half of Georgetown's total.
See, he needs either Hollis Thompson or Jason Clark to start having an impact offensively.
Thompson has 5. Clark has 4 so far. Here's Napier off target. Walker, the leading scorer, along with Lamb, 9 apiece for UConn. And big possession here for Georgetown, about a half-second difference between game and shot clocks.
Do they know it, or are they going to shoot it anyway?
They rushed, and Walker with the block and looking to take it down the lane. Three-point play for Kemba Walker.
Look at the speed of Kemba Walker. Now they're in a foot race because bodies were even when he just changed gears. What did you call him yesterday? Or Maserati in city traffic?
Exactly.
It certainly looked like it in that explosion.
Potential 5-point swing because you take a shot so early in the clock.
And I always felt, and then watch his great quickness in the open court. He's murder in transition. But I always felt, even if you're down 12, things haven't gone your way, you get a chance to get the last shot of the half. You go down 10, 9, but now you have a chance to go down 15. That was not a smart play, in my opinion, shooting it that quickly.
Walker missed another free throw, though. He's 3 for 5 at the line.
Another case in point, it just shows you Chris Wright's absence. He would have gone and gotten the basketball, and it would have been a one-possession game for Georgetown.
Great point. Shot clock is off. Game clock down to 6. Turnaround is good by Clark, just the second field goal. And Georgetown steals the inbound. They'll get a shot. Freeman couldn't hit it, though. And it's a 12-point lead for Connecticut. Freeman, the entire offense practically for Georgetown with 14 points. And Kemba Walker led the way with 11, but Lamb had 9. Coombs McDaniel had 8. Winner advances to play Pittsburgh at noon tomorrow. Connecticut on top, led by the outstanding guard from the Bronx, Kemba Walker. As we go to the Cisco halftime report, Doug Gottlieb, Jay Williams, and Mike Tirico.
I am New York, young man. This week, on this court, the stakes, like my skyscrapers, are higher. The glare, like my light, brighter. If you're afraid, you'll fail. But stand tall like me, and you will prevail. Here, in the Big East Championship.
And welcome back to Championship Week, presented by Dick's Sporting Goods. The 2011 Big East Championship, presented by American Eagle Outfitters. Connecticut on top of Georgetown here at Madison Square Garden, 42-30. And up next here on ESPN, St. John's playing its first game of the 2011 tournament, facing Rutgers. Back with Doris Burke and Fran Fraschilla. I'm Dave Pasch. Georgetown struggling, Doris, again offensively without their star at point guard.
I think there are moments where it's really evident. Late clock situations, shot selection certainly, and 3 assists on 12 baskets. There are certain systems, Franny, where that assist to basket ratio is important because they rely on their passing. Georgetown, one of those.
And the correlation for UConn is right on as well, because the 10 turnovers had led to 12 points for UConn, and it's allowed UConn to do what they do best, Dave, and that is to get out in transition. And when you talk about transition basketball this season in college basketball, this is one of the guys you're talking about, Kemba Walker. Got to keep him out of transition, and that means taking care of the basketball in your half-court offense. Take a look now. This guy is lights out, picking his spots now, not always out of control like he was when he was a young point guard for Jim Calhoun. Really having an understanding of when to go, when to stop, and when to pass. And in the open court, watch out. He's been terrific.
And our first half stats brought to you by American Eagle. Walker had 3 offensive rebounds, 3 assists, and a steal along with those 11 points. Georgetown struggled to shoot it from three-point land and struggled on the glass. Second chance points 10-2 in favor of UConn.
Let's be honest, they're attached to a certain extent because Austin Freeman had 14 points. He absolutely has to have Hollis Thompson or Jason Clark have a big second half, and he's got to keep his numbers where they are. That's the only chance this team has.
And Stark starting the second half with Clark, Lubick, Freeman, Hollis Thompson. So Vaughn not starting the second half. He does have 3 fouls as Thompson rises, and it's tipped in. Close to being on the rim, but Clark got a hand on it. It's a 2-point basket. And again, Chris Wright out for the 3rd straight game, a broken bone in his left hand. Georgetown hoping to get him back for the NCAA tournament.
How about this? Georgetown, and they're opening in a zone here, Fran.
Yep, they go zone, but it's a match zone, Doris, because you can see right now Stark's on Kwandu, so they're doing a lot of switching out of it.
Oriaki had trouble with a pass, able to save it to Lamb. Shot clock down to 5. Walker breaking down the defense again and burying the short jumper.
His mid-range is just so good. And again, under duress of the shot clock, great understanding. A guy who's been through the wars, takes a quick look at the clock and knows this is my shot.
Freeman with 14 points. Lead all scores in this game. 6 of 11 shooting. He'll drive on Smith and a strip by Walker. It'll stay Georgetown ball. 10 to shoot.
Doris, did you see Lubick point to Stark?
Yes.
Says to, hey, get over here in this spot in this offense. It's a read offense, so reading and seeing the defense is critical, but it's not going to work if you're not in the right position.
Right, Georgetown's second leading scorer. He was also third in the Big East in assists. Georgetown lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament last year as Clark hits the bucket. Georgetown was a 3 seed and got beaten by Ohio. In fact, their last NCAA tournament win was 3 years ago. So they want to make sure Wright's 100% for the big dance. It looked like a tie-up, but instead a foul on Thompson. But boy, it looked like Kwandu and Thompson were tied up there for a couple seconds. Third personal. We had Lubick actually for the foul, his third.
Now, if you're Charles Kwandu, and I'm sure Jim Calhoun doesn't necessarily want him driving from the top of the key. He thought he had the lane, but that lane closes quick when you're 7 feet tall.
I don't think he wanted it.
Not that I know what it's like to be 7 feet tall, by the way.
Coombs McDaniel, fresh off the bench, continues to be a spark offensively for UConn.
Doesn't he? He's holding himself differently. He seems so much more confident than I've ever seen him.
He was a high school teammate of Oriaki. These guys played at the Tilton School, and Oriaki had earlier success than Coombs McDaniel.
Almost a steal by UConn. And Benjamin throws it away. Trying to hit Starks in the corner. Winner will play Pittsburgh tomorrow. The Panthers, the 1 seed, getting a double bye at the Big East Championship. This is the 8-9 matchup, but as you see, both these teams are ranked in the top 25. Georgetown lost its final 3 games of the regular season. Oriaki missing and then commits the foul. It's his second, first on UConn.
Think about this. You could have an entire region, 8 teams in the NCAA tournament, and not have as many ranked teams as you have here at the Big East tournament.
Great point.
Well, and you're watching a game right now between 2 ranked teams, and we're not even in the quarterfinals of the Big East tournament. It tells you the depth of this league this year.
These two schools have combined for 13 Big East championships. 2 of those by Georgetown came before they moved the tournament here, so Connecticut's won the most at the Garden. As Lubick scores inside, back to a 10-point game.
It's a young man that played for his father in high school, and he was a teammate of a terrific player, Mike Krzyzewski's got coming. Alex Murphy, you remember his dad, Jay Murphy, played at Boston College.
Lefty shooter.
Yep, and Lubick is a skilled guy. He's really good, Dave, in this kind of offense. He's going to be a good player as he grows up.
Kemba Walker, speaking of good players, Walker's all grown up, having his best year, and another 3-point opportunity for him.
See what I mean, tough twos? This guy makes an awful lot of tough twos, and he's not, I really list him at 6'1". Just how about the handle and the feel and the vision to go through, what, 4 different gray jerseys and take the N1? He splits 4 different guys there and might have the best smile in college basketball.
Walker now with 16 points for UConn, second leading scorer in the Big East. Led the league in minutes.
And I said yesterday, if you're a young teammate of his, he inspires great confidence because it's like having Superman in a back alley fight. You know you're in pretty good shape when you're a teammate of his.
Here's Freeman for 3. No. Is he the type of guy, Kemba Walker, that can carry a team in the NCAA tournament?
Oh, I think he is. Absolutely. The way he's played this year, just go back to Maui and go back to all the quality wins over teams like Texas and Tennessee and Michigan State and Kentucky.
And you could argue that win at Texas is the best road non-conference win for anybody in the country this year in Austin.
And maybe the most important thing about that win, Oriaki gets 21 rebounds. They need him in the NCAA tournament.
He had 19 rebounds yesterday. Akwandu missing the reverse layup. Here's Clark on the drive, and he's fouled. Second team foul on UConn. And the first on Jeremy Lamb. Connecticut leading Georgetown by 13. A lot of ways to get around in the city, even if you're carrying a stuffed animal. Game 1 of day 2 of the 2011 Big East Championship. Connecticut on top of Georgetown as we look at today's Reese's perfect play.
94 by 50. Let's see how fast Kemba Walker can cover ground. He's standing right there at the free throw line on the dribble drive. He's going to give some assistance. He'll get from one side of the floor to the other. He closes out, gets a shot block from behind. All of this within 8 seconds, rim to rim. That's hard to deal with. I say this to you, and this is where you say, if you're even, you're leaving. The end one, he's had multiple ones of that.
You know, he prances around on that highlight like a defensive back. Did you see him darting around?
A lot of football mentions out of you today. Wide receivers, spread offenses, defensive backs.
Shut down corners.
Now you're fired up to see Tiki Barber try to come back.
Oh, I love what Antonio Pierce did yesterday.
Oh, yeah, ripped him.
That was good TV.
Hard to come back at that position in the NFL at age 35.
How many years has he been out?
Been out for, what, 3 or 4, and he's 35 years old.
Wow. Is he nuts?
I didn't like the way he criticized his coach and his quarterback 4 years ago. So, hey, sure, he's a great player, but glad they got to the Super Bowl without him.
Lamb overthrows Akwandu. That looked like an Eli Manning pass this year.
Wow, you're taking a shot at one of the all-time greats.
This year.
You know why? Because in the Arizona Cardinal booth, he's way up high. You don't ever have to see that guy. I'll
take Eli Manning in Arizona. Take Archie, too, in Arizona, the way the quarterback position went this year. Foul called on Roscoe Smith, his 3rd personal.
Hey, how about
team foul?
How about this, guys? We've all seen UConn this year. How about the way the freshmen have played in their first 2 Big East tournament games?
Outstanding. There was a lot of talk that they had hit the freshman wall.
Thompson way off of the 3. Vaughn tried to save it and threw it out of bounds.
You know, Doris, thinking back to your playing days when you were playing in a pickup game and you had the best player on the court on your team, how much fun it was to play in that type of situation. And that's what these freshmen, they've had Kemba as the security blanket all the year as they've grown confident game to game.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question. And he's given him great confidence. He's actually said about Jeremy Lamb, he thinks that guy has got a very, very high ceiling.
You know, Richard Hamilton, Ray Allen type ceiling.
Yes.
When you talk to Jim Calhoun and George Blaney.
Walker, step back 3. Georgetown trying to get it to single digits again. Hoyas have lost their last 3, including 2 to Cincinnati. And home against Syracuse. They did win up at the Dome earlier in the year as Vaughn continues to struggle. Since Wright's injury, as there's a foul on Georgetown, Vaughn is 0 for 12 from the field. Walker a little dinged after taking that shot there. And he gets Starks for his 3rd personal. So 3 guys with 3 fouls for Georgetown. Vaughn, Lubick, and Starks. Here's Coombs McDaniel. Misses the 3. Walker, another offensive rebound. Oriaki and Vaughn on the floor. Jump ball. Meanwhile, he has Oriaki on top of Vaughn. Should have been a foul in UConn.
I think so. John Thompson is going ballistic over there.
Yeah, that's one of those plays where you credit the hustle, but you cannot. You put the guy on the floor with the ball, in my opinion, at a disadvantage by jumping on his back.
Hello.
Here's Giffey off the glass, count it, and Vaughn just picked up foul number 4.
Now, That's huge. I mean, this call is huge because they're attached. They're close enough to get single digits. And look at this. He's upset, and he should be.
Yeah, see, I think that's a charge. I think he's now. Gary Prager may have thought that the defender slid, but once you've established yourself in legal guarding position, you can actually slide sideways or obliquely, as they say in the rule book, or backwards.
Back-to-back calls, Fran.
Yeah.
You got to be incensed if you're Coach Thompson.
Connecticut back up 14.
You know, they do a great job, but just like the players missing shots, it's the way the game works.
Another foul on Connecticut. That's the 14th foul. They get Giffey first.
This is the point where Franny always said he'd send his guys right to the rim and look for a call back.
Yeah, no, you got to put the onus back on the officials. They're human. They know.
Lubick back in, Vaughn to the bench with those 4 fouls. By the way, UConn is one of 3 teams to play 4 games in the Big East tournament, trying to play 5 since they played yesterday. That's what it would take to get to the championship game. Have to win 4 games. Moriaki picking up his 3rd foul. And look, you get the 9 seed, you get DePaul, and then you get a depleted Georgetown team, and then a Pitt team that very good but has not played well when it's had the double bye in previous Big East championships. Don't know if that will matter tomorrow. Still 14 minutes left here, though. Clark to the basket, strip. Out of bounds. Georgetown will keep.
And that's why I mentioned earlier, you know, Georgetown obviously still in this ball game, but you look at the schedule they played this year and the success they had against a difficult schedule. And if you can get Chris Wright, if you're saving Chris Wright for next week, and if they get beat today, they're going to have a lot of rest because they only played that 1 game in the final week of the season. They're still a team, I think, that can do a lot of work in the NCAA tournament with Wright and Freeman.
Clark backdoor trying to get the handle. That's UConn ball. And he stepped on the baseline, though. You've seen it happen, you know, both ways, where a team loses early in the Big East tournament that goes on a run, the NCAA tournament, or you see a team go on a run in the Big East tournament and carry that over, like West Virginia last year. Georgetown in 07 won the regular season, Big East tournament, and then went to the Final Four. Last year, Georgetown made it all the way to Big East championship game and lost in the first round of the NCAAs.
Now, I think, and we've said this before, the cumulative toll of an 18-game season can really wear on you both physically and mentally, and it's the art form of a coach to really have his team ready to play in March, and it's not easy.
Clark can't hit the 3, and Georgetown 3 of 16 from behind the arc. Here's Walker over Lubick. Kemba Walker. So fun to watch. Got 18 points and 6 boards.
I was looking at Nate Lubick thinking he's going to be able to tell his kids he played against Kemba Walker in the Big East tournament, because that was a heck of a move.
Clark underneath. Got it to go over Akwandu.
Yeah, he's undersized. He's lean but strong, but the up fake gets that defender committed. That's a big-time move by Jason Clark.
Meanwhile, his teammate Austin Freeman has not scored this half, so Clark picking up his game, but Freeman has been quiet as Lubick just got called for his 4th. Now step out and guard Walker there.
How many times have you seen Chris Paul or Steve Nash? Remember how Kemba was splitting the screens early, mixing and matching your pick and roll offense? That time, Lubick shows and he runs right into that outside hip, drawing contact. And Lubick's not quick enough to get out of the way.
That looked like a Chris Paul move, too, to make sure the official blows the whistle. You give a little of that body, like, oh, I just got tossed.
I just got hit by 3 Baltimore Ravens.
As I know, Kemba Walker's had some great games this year. 34 against Notre Dame, 8 30-point games, but this is one of the more impressive overall performances I think he's had this year.
I love the pace at which he's played today. He's played fast when he's needed to, and he's played in control when he's had to gear it down.
Walker driving the lane, right on cue, getting it to go off glass for his 20th point.
I think that's probably been arguably his greatest area of growth, is probably mixing speeds, Fran. His freshman year, he put his head down and went.
He was crashing that Maserati, right, in city traffic down 7th Avenue.
Moses Ayegba on the floor for Georgetown, getting some minutes because of La Jolla Bigs in foul trouble. And where's Freeman? Freeman getting touches, calling for it on the wing. Now he's got it. 5 on the shot clock. Freeman has to force it up. And out of there with it is Napier. Napier getting past the defender. And a foul.
Manu Ginobili is going to like that move. Every good college guard now has added that little Euro step. Take a look, guys. This is beautiful basketball. Take it at the defender's chest and then step to the side. Look at that. That's a thing of beauty. Work on that, kids at home. Go into the driveway right now. That's a heck of a move.
Taking a look at our headlines from the Big East Championship, Kemba Walker a great second half yesterday as UConn beats DePaul. Rutgers in overtime knocks off Seton Hall to advance to play St. John's. Then in the night session, South Florida surprises Villanova. The Wildcats just 5-10 in their last 15. See what kind of a seed they get in the NCAA tournament. And then in the finale, Marquette knocking off Providence. Golden Eagles on the bubble. That'll help their cause for the big dance. They look at the Big East teams and how they've done. Their journey to the brackets brought to you by Dove Men Care. As Connecticut has its largest lead of 18 and Napier at the free throw line.
Yep.
And we'll get to those brackets in a little bit, but winner of this game will play Pitt tomorrow.
How about Shabazz Napier? He could still be in prep school right now, but UConn figured out that he had enough credits to graduate, and they snuck him into campus. He would have been highly recruited in the class of 2011. What a freshman year he's had.
Connecticut foul. 6th team foul. It's our journey to the brackets. We talked about Villanova's upset. St. John's only loss at the Garden against Syracuse, and that's a potential matchup tomorrow if St. John's beats Rutgers. West Virginia looking to repeat. The last team to do that was Syracuse 05-06 here at the Big East tournament.
Jay Wright was asked last night about the struggles, and there's a line in the papers about, he's asked, what's going on. He said, at some point in the second half we became tentative and lacked confidence. And then he was asked again. He said, I don't know the answer to that.
He said last week that this league can make you really doubt yourself, and there's no team right now heading into the postseason with any more doubt about their team than Jay's team. And that's why I always say, Doris, in February particularly, it's mental as much as it is physical. This league takes a lot out of you mentally and physically. And right now you look at Villanova and you're filling out a bracket and you got to wonder whether they're even going to be around very long.
They barely survived in the first round last year, and then sent home in the second round. And it's so much confidence. It strikes me how fragile it is, and whether it's collegiate or NBA, these are still players, and player egos can be fragile when you struggle.
Oh, that's a foul.
Napier got the bucket anyway. By the way, St. John's up next. You saw a shot there of Dwight Hardy signing autographs, the most improved player in the Big East. The person who came up to him is a Rutgers fan asking for Hardy's autograph. Well, he's become a star here at the Garden. We mentioned their 7-1 record at MSG as the 3 goes for Clark.
The great thing about playing and coaching in this city when it comes to basketball is when you prove yourself, there's no probably better place to play than New York City. It's the city game for a reason. The history here is incredible, and obviously Dwight Hardy's had one of those storybook years because he's gone from high school in the Bronx to junior college and now to Phillies.
Great move by Walker, but he couldn't finish it. He did keep possession, though. Give 5. Wild shot, and it'll be Georgetown ball.
Are you kidding me? He's talking to the official right now. I thought he took a little bump, didn't sell it much. Okie dokie. That was great.
That looks That's like trying to catch. That's like when you're trying to get a seat on the train and you're moving through a crowded subway car right there.
Dwayne the Pearl. That was a Dwayne crossover, except that was he did it a little bit higher with the dribble. That was great.
You know what? The Bronx is well represented in the Big East tournament with Dwight Hardy and Truck Bryant, and of course Truck's from Brooklyn, played high school basketball in the Bronx, and this guy.
Aquanu picked up the foul. Clark misses the front end of the 1-and-1. Great save by Benneman. And Austin Freeman only 2 points since intermission and can't bank that one in, but Clark there for the Hoyas. Walker breaks up the lob attempt to Lubick. Weak pass.
Yeah, another possession. That's Chris Wright standing there. And he pulls that back out. They get organized.
I told you he looked like a defensive back. That looked like Darrell Rivas right there.
Are you trying to impress the voice of Monday Night Football, Mike Tirico, who's back in the studio?
Trying to get on the NBA draft in April.
Coombs McDaniel with the spin.
Wow, they get away with an offensive foul. Sure did look like he used that left arm to push off.
12 points for him today, and the lead back to 18 for UConn.
What a confidence builder for Jim Calhoun to have another guy that can get you some baskets.
Freeman pretty. 18 points for Austin Freeman in a Georgetown timeout.
Timeout Georgetown. That's a charged 30-second timeout.
UConn in control. And on the Jamal Coombs McDaniel dribble drive. Good use of the left hand. Mr. Benneman, I don't want you anywhere near me. Let me use the nice offensive play. And busy in the city. Busy getting work done with Connecticut.
Mike, stock up for UConn as you look at Wall Street. Huskies 9 minutes away from advancing to play Pittsburgh tomorrow. And it's been a trying year for Connecticut, even though things have gone well on the court. Jim Calhoun had a death in the family earlier, had to miss a game, and also the school placed by the NCAA on probation and reportedly will not appeal the sanctions of 3 years probation, 3 years of scholarship reductions, restrictions on recruiting. And also Jim Calhoun, it was recommended be suspended 3 Big East games next year. No word yet whether he will appeal that. He can, separate from the other sanctions we mentioned, appeal that decision.
As I've said before, I think UConn got off lightly, so I would not appeal it. I'd move on, and Jim Calhoun's heading to the Hall of Fame. I think the biggest thing that upsets him is just that blight on his Hall of Fame resume.
No, there's no question. I mean, he's a prideful guy, and he's always prided himself on the unbelievable success he's had without cheating. I'd be very surprised, frankly, if he appealed the decision.
Do you guys think that in terms of the big picture, the players end up suffering more than coaches when suspensions are handed down? Look at the Jim Tressel situation at Ohio State. The players suspended 5 games, Jim Tressel 2, although the NCAA can still come in and hand down a longer suspension. A lot of times when a team gets put on probation and misses the NCAA tournament, it's either coaches' moves that aren't there anymore that affect the current players.
Well, I'll ask you guys this. Curtis Kelly takes some clothes from a clothing store in Manhattan, Kansas, and gets 6 games. Bruce Pearl lies to the NCAA and gets 8 games.
Yes.
So I think there's a little bit of a disparity there. You've heard me say this. I think coaches who do break the rules need to be penalized by either missing bowl games or NCAA tournament games. And I think if you put the fear of God in these guys, not just Jim Calhoun, obviously, but anybody who does break the rules, I think it'll change things a little bit as to when you have to think about the risk-reward of breaking NCAA rules.
You certainly wonder about the incentive to not cheat or break the rules if you're not feeling it is where it matters most, and that's in the postseason.
Doris, when one coach breaks the rule, another coach loses games, and the other coach gets fired. It's a zero-sum game, and I've been through it.
UConn with the ball, leading by 14 over Georgetown in the 8-9 game, day 2 of the Big East Championship.
And by the way, luckily the kid that they broke the rules for never played a game for Connecticut.
Shot clock down to 2. Lamb has to fire it up, and it's a violation.
Georgetown ball.
It'll be Georgetown ball when we come back to Madison Square Garden as UConn looks to get its 23rd win of the season, leading Georgetown by 14.
Years and came into our locker room, was very happy for Felipe Lopez and Zendon Hamilton, Ron Artest, and those guys, and obviously he is Mr. St. John's.
Dwight Hardy won Most Improved Player of the Year award. Justin Burrell was named Big East's 6th Man of the Year. Mike Bray was Coach of the Year, and that's the 3rd time he's won it in 5 years for Notre Dame. Steve Lavin certainly did a great job, along with a great staff that he assembled. Mike Dunlap also getting Gene Cady as an advisor.
And how about Jamie Dixon? You know, Jamie Dixon is kind of like Kemba Walker. He may not be Big East Coach of the Year, but he's going to get a lot of consideration for National Coach of the Year. Just because you're successful over a decade shouldn't penalize you.
Correct.
Kemba Walker with the left hand, 22 points.
Every shot I've talked about with him has been tough, too. It's a tough, too. There's bodies, arms, length around him, and he somehow figures out how to slither his way around the rim.
Yep. You know what I like about this, Doris? You're exactly right. And these tough twos are without running anybody over this year. You know, it's sliding off guys, figuring out when to pull up, when to take it to the rim, when to get body. This is the Kemba Walker that's becoming under control in terms of using his speed.
The reason mixing speeds is important, even when you're blessed with great speed. If you go one speed all the time, it's easy to guard you. Mixing speeds puts people on their heels. They're sitting there trying to guess which are you're coming at me, you know, full go. Are you gonna? It's like trying to deal with the changeup in baseball.
That's why Roy Halladay doesn't throw one pitch.
See Freeman's numbers, first half to second half.
You know, it's interesting, just to make a point about Louis. You have Chris Mullen, who's a Hall of Fame level talent, who's been coached by a lot of good guys, and he'll tell you so. There's only one guy he calls coach, and that's Luke Carnesecca.
Approaching 6 minutes to go here at the Garden with Connecticut on top of Georgetown, 65-51. Napier with 7 to shoot. Can't get the roll. Rebound by Clark. I was talking to some of the Connecticut folks yesterday. They thought that they could get maybe as high as a 4, probably a 5 seed as Clark's 3 is off the Mark Thompson, the rebound. I think a lot of people are curious how some of these teams get seeded in the NCAA tournament. As it'll be Connecticut ball. And where does Georgetown end up? How many is it? Do you get 2 number 1 seeds from the Big East? Pitt, you would think, is going to be getting 1. What about Notre Dame?
Yeah, I think Notre Dame has a chance, but I think it has to be because somebody else falters. I think, you know, when you look at Kansas and Duke and maybe even North Carolina in that 2 line, I think Notre Dame would have to need a little bit of luck unless they just blow through this tournament. And Pittsburgh, I think, is a lock because 3 losses in conference play day by a total of 9 points. Their body of work over the whole season, I think, speaks for itself.
And we've seen in recent memory teams that don't win at the Big East tournament don't seem to get penalized with seedings in the NCAA tournament.
Now think about this. The last 2 years, Big East has had a team lose on Thursday and still be a number 1 seed. Not the number one, but number 1 seeds nonetheless.
I think the greater question is how far can Notre Dame go?
Yeah.
And what you love about Notre Dame is experience, great offensively, a go-to guy, 5 guys that can all score, and I think they're better this year defensively than they've been in a while.
I agree. That's the point I was going to think about, because you think about they can score with anybody and always have under Mike Bray. It's the defense and the toughness, and Mr. Hansbrough and some other guys, Tyrone Nash, those guys are tough. You describe Notre Dame as a tough team now.
By the way, Kemba Walker now with 24 points as UConn's back up 16 at the 5-minute mark. Clark launching yet again, and he's 1 for 6. Georgetown 4 of 18 from 3. Kemba Walker had it blocked by Clark.
That's 2 great plays.
Starks for 3. 4 of 19 are the Hoyas. And here's Walker again. This time he's going to give it up. Coombs McDaniel blew the alley-oop. And then Giffey called for the foul.
Well, everybody since LeBron has started to chase people down, been on SportsCenter many times. Mr. Thompson, let me give you my LeBron impersonation. He's still smiling.
Yep. And then you got to, hey, here's probably the one mistake of the day. Who are you throwing the lob to? Have you seen Coombs McDaniel in the layup lines? I mean, he's a good shooter.
We get a timeout with UConn on top of Georgetown by 16. Joe Lunardi, our ESPN bracketologist, projected NCAA tournament seeds for the Big East Conference. He's got Pitt as a 1, Notre Dame as a 2. Louisville and St. John's both as 4. So he's got Connecticut as a 5, Georgetown as a 6, Villanova down to an 11. So he's actually got Marquette seeded better than Villanova, as the Villanova's really struggling of late, just 5 and 10 in the last 15.
Well, and you know what? You can't go through a Big East broadcast without talking about Cincinnati. And we talk about whether Villanova's dropping, whether Marquette's in. Mick Cronin has done a tremendous job from the start of this season. I know people in Cincinnati may not think so, but you look at what they've accomplished in the conference this year. They're that one Big East team, Doris, that has figured out a way to win, and no one's talking about it.
Well, you know what you have to think about too. If you're an administrator, either a president or an AD, you need some time at certain places.
Yeah.
He needed that. They were patient with him, and it's paid off.
Early in the year, they handled Xavier rather easily, and at the time, Xavier wasn't playing great, and a lot of people weren't sure how good of a win that was. But then you look how Xavier's played in the Atlantic 10, which is a pretty good league, and that certainly helped Cincinnati's cause. And maybe Georgetown twice down the stretch, Cincinnati did. There's another Hoya foul here on Hollis Thompson.
Well, beat Louisville at home. I think they beat Marquette.
How far has Joe Lunardi come? I remember doing the A-10 games. Now all of a sudden he's on SportsCenter in some shades, got multiple, like 15 guys going into a dance. He's a star.
What's amazing about Joe is we all read all the blogs on all the websites, and I don't care what anybody else says. It's all noise to me. The first thing I do is I want to see where Joey Brackett says people, whether they're in or out. And I go, okay, now I can look at everybody else.
3 in 3 years. I mean, the fact that the guy's missed 3 in 3 years, how do you do that? I want to know how many has he gotten the seeds exactly right.
Giffey gets a second free throw. It's a 17-point Connecticut lead. Winner plays Pittsburgh tomorrow at noon. St. John's up next, taking on Rutgers. The Scarlet Knights beat Seton Hall in overtime after Jeremy Hazel sent it to the extra session with a 3 with a second left. Rutgers able to prevail. Starks into the lane.
This guy has shown you. See what I'm talking about? He hasn't had a ton of playing time, so his understanding of the offense is not there. But there's talent in Markel Starks. And you know what he's done? He's made that second unit nice pass.
Akwandu with the throwdown.
He's made that second unit competitive in practice. That's what impressed me when I watched Georgetown play in McDonough Arena.
Here's Connecticut in transition. They give it up. They had a 3-on-1. Freeman got it back, though, for the Hoyas. Clark able to lay it in with the left hand. Akwandu had trouble with the handle. It'll go back to the Hoyas. Now Jim Calhoun not happy with his team's focus here in the last few seconds, as Steve Lavin gets ready to coach for the first time at the Big East tournament. What a year for St. John's. The Johnnies play Rutgers in game 2 from the Garden coming up. Michael, Connecticut on top of Georgetown by 15 with 3:40 to go. The Huskies ready to advance and face Pittsburgh tomorrow at noon in the quarterfinal.
Okay, that young girl was darling, but for her poor mama, that hair could not be easy.
It's a big 3, by the way, as Georgetown's back within 12.
And that's a good set play out of the timeout, because usually that Georgetown offense, it grinds you and takes time off the clock.
Here's Kemba Walker racing down court, and Lubick just fouled out.
There's that old saying, Dave, when you're even, you're leaving, and he knew he had the angle on Nate Lubick. There's no possible way Lubick could get in front of him and get into guarding position.
Lubick is fouled out. You've had Starks playing with 4, Vaughn playing with 4. Kemba Walker has 24 points, 6 rebounds.
Well, he's been sensational. The crossover between the trap. In the first half, it was all about splitting that trap. The offensive rebound of a miss. He's been outstanding on the glass for a team that has had its struggles. Rebounded the ball, the explosion. He's so special. This is fun to watch.
Well, it's fun to watch him mature, too. This is a young guy that grew up in the Bronx. You know, in middle school, he wasn't a starter. He backed up Corey Fisher. In high school, he didn't really start till Edgar Sosa left Rice High School. As a freshman, it was A.J. Price who tutored him. And to watch him put this young team on his back is a great sign of maturity for him.
Looking for his 25th point. From Rice High School in the Bronx. Kemba's mom, Andrea, watching and got to be happy that her son broke out of this little mini slump here at Madison Square Garden. His first 3 games here at the Garden, he shot around 23-24%. Was 8 of 15 yesterday and 9 of 17 today from the field.
Sorry, Dave. He's not going to have any wrinkles. You know how they say if you smile, you get fewer wrinkles. You guys are not concerned. You're not on the distaff side. You have no idea what I'm talking about.
Freeman missing the 3. Now see how long Jim Calhoun keeps Walker and these guys out on the floor. 14-point lead, under 3 to go. They got a game in 22 hours.
I'm thinking if I'm Jim Calhoun right now, 14 seems like a lot, but I've seen crazy things happen.
Well, he's ready to fire the ball at somebody during the last timeout. Walker into the lane with the scoop.
Give me a
He took a shot to the face. Out of bounds to UConn. He's smiling about, or is he not smiling? He's just in pain. You don't know, though, because he smiles most of the time he's on the floor.
And Jim Calhoun, he wasn't even paying attention to Kemba. He was leaning. You know that commercial we have with the music and the gyrations of the coach? He's over there, so he doesn't think this is over. He's moving. Well, another tough 2. I mean, how about the adjustment he does? He gets swiped across that forehead. And the ability to just turn his body and avoid contact where you don't want to charge.
I think Jim Calhoun should be a candidate for Dancing with the Stars. Because that's a 68-year-old man over there that's down in that defensive stance.
Lamb takes it in, and he'll go to the line.
He's a huge baseball fan. He's a big New England sports fan. He loves the Red Sox. He actually had a chance to address them at one point. Yeah, this is not quite over. Listen, here's the reality. That guy, I one time asked him, I said, Coach, your legacy is secure. You're in the Hall of Fame. I said, you never relax. He said, I always feel like I'm proving myself. I've never lost that mentality that regardless of what I've achieved, I've got to prove myself.
You know, he matured early in life. His dad passed away at an early age. He was the man in the family. Was a terrific, no surprise to you, rebounder at American International College. And then, you know, Dave, he made the jump from high school coach to head coach at Northeastern and had great success there, except for one time in the NCAA tournament in 1984 when a guy named Rolando Lamb knocked Northeastern out of the tournament at VCU, and guess what? His son is playing for Jim Calhoun right now. Jeremy Lamb.
A little extracurricular activity, but no foul. Jump ball that will go to Georgetown. This will be 846 in terms of wins for Jim Calhoun, and number 300 in the Big East. He'll join Jim Boeheim as the only coaches with 300 regular season and Big East tournament wins.
You wonder if the sanctions don't make him hungry to keep winning and maybe keep adding to the positive side of his legacy. Sure.
Yeah, I agree. You know, my favorite Jim Calhoun moment, Dave, was I was watching a game a few years ago. They're playing Northeastern, his old school. Northeastern gets the tip. They score within 3 seconds, and Jim Calhoun calls a timeout. 3 seconds into the game, and they wound up winning by 40.
2 national championships, 3 Final Four appearances, including 2 years ago. Then last year they had a miserable season. The chemistry wasn't good. They were a 12 seed. And the Big East tournament lost in the first round to St. John's. But he said numerous times he loves this team. Kemba Walker is one of the best kids he's ever coached. And even though you can't tell from some of the shots we show you, he's having more fun this year. And they're going to go to 23-9. They were picked 10th preseason. And when people made that prediction, they weren't thinking 500 record. They're thinking they're going to be 6-12 and finish 10th. They finished 9th at 9-9. And Clark fouling Napier. 1:07 to go. Napier.
This would be a good time. Good time right now. If I were Jim Calhoun, I'd get Kemba out just to give him a chance to soak up the, you know, the excitement of Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, it looks like they're sending down, or at least the assistant coaches are looking down. Yeah, I got to believe this is Donnell Beverly.
Yep, I like this.
One more free throw for Shabazz Napier, all Big East rookie team member, is Kemba Walker. And there's that Jim Calhoun smile. You can understand why. Kemba Walker, fantastic day.
You got to pay attention because it came and went quick.
28 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, but it felt like more assists the way Walker distributed today.
Well, I'll tell you what he did there. He got a lot of guys shot simply because the great jerseys were so concerned with him.
Point.
And what about Georgetown guys with Chris Wright or without him? I think we know without him, the NCAA tournament probably not a long journey. But with Chris Wright, what about the Hoyas?
I think they're a tough out. I think they guard. I think that you're unaccustomed to dealing with that offense and the trigger points that send them certain directions.
I agree. He has to come back at near full strength. But remember this, he is going to be rested. And that's not something to take lightly. And Georgetown will be rested because this will only be the 3rd game in about 18 days by the time they suit up next week.
And he's practiced 2 days now. He's kept in physical condition, but now he's back to practicing. So at least you're getting that wind in a basketball environment.
Connecticut, 6-time Big East tournament champs. One step closer to perhaps number 7. Still a lot of work to do, though. Pitt tomorrow. But Connecticut 2-0 at the 2011 Big East Championship after losing their last 6 games played here. And Kemba Walker, an absolute stud today, 28 points, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. UConn goes to 23-9. Georgetown falls to 21-10. Hoyas have lost 4 in a row going into the NCAA tournament, but hoping to have Chris Wright miss the last 3.5 games now with a broken bone in his left hand. Hoping to have him back next week for the NCAA tournament. Pitt, Connecticut, and it's just the quarterfinals. Should be a good one at noon tomorrow. Up next here on ESPN, St. John's Rutgers tonight. South Florida goes for another upset against Cincinnati, and defending champ West Virginia plays its first game of the 2011 championship, taking on Marquette. Beth Moen standing by with Jim Calhoun. Beth?
Thank you very much, Dave. Well, we know that Kemba Walker is a terrific scorer, Coach, but how is he continuously able to make everyone else around him a better player?
Well, he's just got the, incredibly fighting spirit, and I say that very honestly because I've had a lot of great players, and I think most of them are kind of separated. Metro, Okafor, Ray Allen, those kids, by their ability to really want to win. And he's always saying to me, you want me to get Jerry the ball more, anybody, and that takes a special player, and obviously he's pretty special.
Our announcers were talking a lot today about how he has mixed his speed so much better this year. How has he been able to utilize his explosiveness even more?
Well, he's almost Allen Iverson quick, but sometimes just that quickness and speed doesn't get it done. But the hesitations, that burst that I never had, never will have, most people won't. He's utilized to get into that 15-foot jump shot, and it's like gold from there.
The first time you saw Pittsburgh back in December was a lot of Kemba and a little bit of everybody else. How do you make sure they're all involved now tomorrow playing the third day in a row?
Well, some of the young kids who played well today are going to have to step it up because, quite frankly, they're the best team, one of the best teams in the country. And it's a great opportunity for us to go against them because, I truly believe that if we can get some momentum going in the NCAA tournament and beating a good Georgetown team today the way we want to, which is we actually, for once, said we're going to just try to run them. They're thin, let's try to run them. And tomorrow we're going to try to do something, but I need a couple hours to have dinner. And then I know Pitt pretty well, so we know we're in for a heck of a fight. But you know what? We're really glad to be there.
All right, thank you, and congratulations on your 300th Big East win.
Thank you.
Dave?
79-62 the final as Rutgers takes the court for game 2, looking for the upset against St. John's. The Red Storm 7-1 at the Garden this year. Kemba Walker 28 points today in the win for UConn as we send you back to Mike Tirico, Doug Gottlieb, and Jay Williams in the studio.